Well. I'm getting a sign saying that I am recording, and without fanfare, without forewarning, I'm just here. Hello, everyone. I'm Adam Abraham, and some of you know it because we're coming onto my channel, and I'm also simul streaming to Facebook, and I haven't done this in a while, and I'm using another or a new for me platform which this is kind of my first go at it. So I'm still learning things with it. Uh, and so best way to learn how to do something is to do it, especially when it's something new. You can do it and work at it and work through it with your in your head for who knows how long and still not resolve anything. But ultimately, when you do something, the things that I've learned in life have to do with doing something and making mistakes and things not working and then figuring it out as you go. So at any rate, that's my story. That's where we're going to go. You'll see some efforts at some branding, and especially which is new compared to what I have done in the past. And I've never really done live streaming the way it's supposed to be done. I'm supposed to just sit and wait for a while. First of all, I'm supposed to do it regularly. Never done that. I've done a lot of it, but not regularly, and I think I will at some point in time. Certainly going to be doing it more. There are things that we can do to change um, the scenario. Let's put it this way. Everyone's got an opinion about the scenario, about what is happening and the way things are, and I'm no exception. Everyone not only has an opinion, everyone has a feeling about it. And actually, I say everyone is doing something in their own way about what is happening. Now, to what extent we believe in what we're doing, or to what extent it's having any impact, or it appears to be having any impact, that remains to be seen. But ultimately, we are doing what we feel we ought to or what we can. We're trying to affect things that we think we can affect, or perhaps we're just sitting back and not doing anything because we think or don't know or feel there's anything we can do. So, one of the reasons I'm doing this and will be doing this and presenting more videos and just talking and inviting people to watch and to reflect on the things that we talk about, including dialogue. I mean, I'm not really the preacher type, but maybe that's been denial for me. I've been wanting to talk about something because I feel that I have a perspective that's different. Most people are used to hearing the stuff that they're used to hearing, and so it's really easy for someone to turn off if you're coming off sounding like something they've already heard. You're just thinking, well, that's the same thing. And I I promise you, the things that I have to say, or the thoughts, the ideas, are not common, and ultimately, if we're going to do anything different, it's going to come from some different forms of thinking that's not common today. What's common today is getting us what we got, and to change that, you got to go someplace that you're not familiar being. And yet we are able to conceive of such places and such experiences and such outcomes, et cetera, et cetera. And it doesn't have to be a way over yonder kind of scenario. It's my sense, at least it's my understanding of what I've learned, what I've observed, et cetera. It makes sense to me that the power to change is within us all, but we have to be at one with the change that we want, and we have to be literally we have to embody it. We need to be representatives for the change that we that our hearts are wanting. And oftentimes we are more inclined to see what is the consensus, what is the quote unquote majority saying about this, what are the quote unquote scientists saying about this. I'm going to talk about all that stuff. I got at least opinions about it. And then we presume that, well, they've got it figured out. We are hands off, minds off in some cases. And that's really not being authentic either, because we do care. We care more oftentimes than we even say that we do. So one of the things that and the reason why I'm on now, I'm calling this a test. This is a dry. I don't know if it's a dry run because my mouth is blabbing, so it's kind of a run, so to speak. But I want to check some of my screens. I'm working on my green screen. I'm working on my lights and stuff, and I'm working on my quote unquote set. But this platform, and the other thing I want to do is I'm going to talk about a couple things. I did a video last October about a platform called Drip. Now, what I will say is that um, I will be covering all kinds of things. Life is just whatever life is. And there are some factors that I think, as beings that are doing this thing called life, are actually, shift is happening. Whether we are actively involved with it or whether we are wanting it and not knowing really what to do, or whether we're on the fence, it doesn't matter, or in the gutter. We're all someplace, and we're all tending to and wanting to create something that's probably better than we're used to experiencing. And um, there there's what's important according to the experts. The experts come up with some subject and they tell you, well, this is the thing that's, we got to be doing something about. 2 weeks ago, you never heard of it before, and all of a sudden, you don't hear anything but it. Okay. This, and gosh, and this year alone, AI, the artificial intelligence, something has been being done with it and about it for some time. But it seemed like somewhere around January, February this year, all of a sudden it was everywhere. And now, in many ways, people are talking about how it's going to take over the world. It's going to be, oh gosh, oh boy, don't even get me into that Maui situation and the World Economic Forum and their plans for smart cities, and then seeing some evidence that uh, they they had meetings there and they want the state to be the first smart state and stuff like that. And then here's a place where they want to do their thing, and they had meetings all about it, and then all of a sudden the very area that they're wanting to change is devastated. It's fascinating when you got this on a public record of wanting to implement all this stuff. And, so this kind of stuff is going on, and these conditions warrant some discussion, because I'll say this: the WF is very, very not just vocal, very visible about what they want for the world. They want for you, they want for everyone, so to speak. And something, people are accustomed to being quiet. If there's enough noise in a one particular area, we're generally inclined to be quiet about it, keep to ourselves, stay in our own lanes, not move. But that's your freedom. If we don't use the freedom, if we don't exercise it, it shrinks, it atrophies like any muscle. So one of the things I want to do, I'm not going to talk more about Maui or the WF, but I did a video last October about um, a platform that's referred to as Drip, the Drip Network. Really cool, super platform that was a godsend. And I'm saying it in the past tense. It was a godsend for me, particularly because it's evidence of some of the changes that are going on, some of the changes that are occurring with regard to uh, managing, acquiring this thing called, let's say, exchangeable value. Okay. Normally we call it money. Some people still do. But I would suggest to anyone today that, uh, the money that we have and the money that is being planned is not your grandfather's money. And since I am a grandfather, I know I've been around long enough to understand how things were as well as how things are. And also, I've observed, especially over the last few years, uh, how things are desired to be relative to this idea of money. But one of the things I'm inclined to say and suggest is that it's not about money. No one's here to make money. Uh, we're here to do something else. And one of the things we're here to do is to give value. We've actually exercised ourselves, we've habituated ourselves to a point where money and value are not the same things. Money and freedom are a different thing. Money functions in a way that is different than what we haven't become accustomed to doing, and freedoms that are associated. Oh, methods of acquiring, whether it's money or whether methods of retaining and having some value, liquid assets that you can use and exchange with others are changing. Drip was one of those, and but I've learned a whole bunch of things. If you're familiar with drip, it's one thing. If a lot of people who are not familiar with it, is something else. And so I'm not going to talk specifically about drip from the standpoint of the ins and outs of it, because right now it appears to be at a great ebb. All right, here's a token which had a value. Um, was it a year ago? No, it was a year and a half ago, because it was around January of 2022. A token that had gone up in value to almost $200 a piece, and it went up, and then it came down, and it has simply continued to go down, even though many people, myself included, anticipated that at some point in time it would rise again. But from almost $200 per token to that last October that I did that video where it was $7.50, and I'm going to uh, exercise changing my screen right now, and I'm on the Drips page. So you can see that screen. Uh, that looks kind of nice. Understand the systems as they work, and our monetary system, our present monetary system, as it already is. Um, our monetary system works under a principle referred to as a zero sum game. It works under a theory called zero sum game. And the zero sum game is one that has people, the participants are set up, they call it game theory. And some are the losers, some are the winners. I'm going to do an actual presentation where I've got these kind of set up, so you don't have to look at me. But I'm kind of going, so I'll go. The issue here is this: is you have winners and you have losers, and people who put their stuff, their funds, into that game, into that system, they're now simply going to move back and forth, where some people are holding them, some people are not. And so we have maintained a habit of thinking in such a way to think that stuff has value. And as long as we think that stuff has value, and not necessarily us, we are the real value of everything, but we've habituated the idea that the stuff has value. We don't acknowledge value until we have put our efforts into the acquisition or the creation of stuff, or the acquisition or the apprehension or whatever of something that's perceived to be valuable, such as money. And then, therefore, now we've got some value, and we also have some sense of influence over others who may not have as much as us. It's about influence, and it's an influence game, but it's also a perception game. And so, what we have really habituated this idea of presuming that the stuff has value, we don't. And now we go into this, I call it not so merry-go-round of chasing the value because we're convinced that we're not it. And so, follow the money, that whole phrase, which is everyone has heard for so long, is a part of how people do things. And yet, we have made that such an issue because we're in the mindset of not having it. We're also in the habit of not having enough of it. Then there you go. There becomes the game. What do you exchange for this stuff called money? And because the money isn't the real value and we don't know it, even when you succeed at getting it, you're oftentimes still not satisfied. You don't have enough. The need that actually triggered the activity is not being satisfied. And also, things that actually improve the quality of our life are not being done. So, what I'm going to do is this. I'm working right now on a presentation. I've done presentations about something called a cooperative system. It's many of my videos are talking about something called co-op crowd. It's really the same thing, but it is a way by which people can literally change this situation because in a zero sum game, you got to have a winner, you got to have losers. In a cooperative system, and I'll call this a zero sum game is a cooperative system, but it's a low level of cooperative system because there must be winners there must be losers for the winners. And oftentimes the winners are small, the population of winners are small, itsy bitsy, and the population of quote unquote losers are large. And so as long as you're playing in that game, in that arena, it's going to keep happening. And that's what happened with Drip. And I don't blame Drip for it per se. Most people don't understand these things. I didn't. I'm accustomed to the same thing. You see something that has some value, and then you're betting on its future. You're betting on the possibility that more people are going to get into it, more people are going to do this, there's going to be more use cases, whatever reason we give. And really, it's the people who are buying into the story, who decide to put some of their assets in it because they are betting on the idea or the hope that or the need, okay, that this more people are going to do it and the price is going to go up. That certainly hasn't happened with Drip. But the answer is not another platform that will do the same thing that's based on this zero sum game approach. Co-op, and as it's called now, co-op business is what it's called. It is based purely and truly on, I'll call it reciprocity. The laws of the universe. The one is what you put out comes back to you. And the thing is, if you know what you put out comes back to you, and you are, what would I say? You're discerning in what you put out, knowing that it's coming back to you. And then you start changing what you put out with that knowledge. And then it gets down to how efficiently does it come back, because it will come back. It'll come back in kind to what you give out. And so, with that knowledge, that's the laws of the universe. That's the reality of everything. So, even people who have quote unquote lost, they're going to get back what they put out. No, nothing is ever truly lost. And that gets into some other things, which I won't get into right now. But what I want to say basically is this: the cooperative system that I have talked about but I'm going to talk about soon. I'm actually working on a presentation, a PowerPoint that I will actually, like I said, you won't have to look at me. You can read the things that I'm writing about. And I plan on doing this later this week. I will make an announcement and I'll invite you to watch, because through cooperation, through real cooperation, through pure cooperation, and I would even say efficient and effective, not, you don't need to have, true cooperation is not based on a loser for, or many losers for a few winners. True cooperation allows for everyone to quote unquote win. You can have win-win situations, win-win-win situations. We can go a long way in cooperation that we cannot go through competing and mutual blocking of each other's progress. And we have made mutual blocking of each other's progress the rule more so than the exception. But this cooperative system, it's called co-op business, and I'm going to talk about it, is one that exercises the best parts of ourselves, for one thing. I mean, imagine how, and how we could even think that we could grow as a society by competing with each other. You know, people, I mean, we're used to saying that, competition, healthy competition is good and blah, 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 blah. Well, we don't do healthy competition. So how the hell do we know? We have normalized on unhealthy competition. We have normalized on not caring about each other. And for that matter, we've normalized on not caring about ourselves. We abuse ourselves, our bodies, our minds, our emotions. We do it automatically because it's a habit. It's a habit that we repeat it without thinking about it and without taking conscious ownership of our activities. And so here's again, this opportunity is a situation where we can actually change things. We can start a movement because the true creators of the reality are you and myself, are each of us. The true creators of value are you and others. All, and I always put it this way: what we think of as the living, the ones who are quote unquote here, unless we are acting intelligent, we won't be in resonance with intelligence. And so here we have all these conversations now about the UFOs. And it's fascinating. After so many years that we've been aware of this stuff, oftentimes in denial, or oftentimes as secret projects, oftentimes as perceived fringe activity and stuff like that. That conversation is growing and coming out and growing and coming out. But I find it fascinating that they talk so much and more about the craft that they can see, and they speculate about, more so, they ignore the beings that created them, the knowledge that those beings had in order to create those things. What do they know about the forces of nature that we don't know? And we are acting like science, quote unquote, has, they know everything there is to know, but they haven't figured that stuff out. And even more so, we as a society have not come to a level of cooperation enough that we're fixing things. It's not, it's not climate change. It's it's our soils, it's our waters, it's our infrastructures, it's our social interactions. We're sitting here telling ourselves that we're the richest nation on earth, as an example, pumping ourselves up. But we're the deepest in debt, for one thing. We have 600,000 people who don't have homes in the United States alone, and the numbers are rising. And we don't have solutions for that because ultimately people think the solution is money. Nope, the solution is value. Value in each one of us, and the spirit of each one of us to change, to help not only ourselves but help each other. And here's the spirit and the I'm going to say not just a spirit. Here is a system that's based on the principles of cooperation that can efficiently and effectively help each of us to do just that for ourselves, for one thing. You talk about filling your cup. You know, we have these debates about what's cup is half full and which cup is half empty. And now we set ourselves, well, I'm a half fuller, I'm a half emptier. So, well, people don't tend to want to acknowledge that they're half emptier. They're more the half fuller, meaning they're what positive and stuff like that. From where I sit, I look at it as at half capacity. Uh, if I would be just a half empty or a half footer, it means I'm half witted. I'm a holist. I want to see the whole functional. If we're debating who's half and this and that, we're always pointing fingers at someone else when we don't like what we see and want to have point fingers at ourselves if we do. Ultimately, if we're using only half of our capacity, that's another way of looking at the same thing. And unless you're ready to see the whole, you can't change it, not positively. You've got to see it, you got to respect it, and you got to work from that perspective. So, what I'm going to be doing, uh, in fact, I'm not going to log into my co op business um, site, but I am going to just show it to you. And I'm going to, at some point in time here, check this little. That's kind of, I think that's kind of cool. I like this when I'm showing myself with this. If you saw my previous set, it was a little different. Oh, excuse me. Let me go here, and oops. It has really allowed me to think. When you think something through, when you think the potential of an activity through, and you start seeing, okay, first of all, its flaws or its flaws come up. They start showing themselves. Drip, as I was talking about, is a value at 4 cents now, and it's not flawed. It's a great system, but from an efficiency standpoint of the movement of funds, it has what it has, and it's a system. It's a system that's more efficient than our current monetary system. Our current monetary system is doing just what drip has done, and the way money or value is being exchanged and will be exchanged is absolutely changing to the point where what's called a digital wallet is going to be a part of all activity. And most people don't understand those things either. So, my presentation that I'm going to be bringing up is going to talk about those things too, because money is changing. We need to not only know about it, we need to go in and be part of the new environments. And a digital wallet is central to the exchange of value in the coming future. And that digital wallet can sit on your phone, so to speak, because most people at this stage of the game have around the world have smartphones. And so this system is working not only on that, but also on something called a blockchain. I will talk about all those things. The thing about it, though, is that it when you play it out, it it produces something that nothing else has ever that I've ever seen can do. It's a conversation we can have, and that is this. I'm going to go to the Bible for a moment, and you will notice I'm not religious, but I'm not a part of that because the Bible is a religious text. Doesn't mean it's not bad. There's not great stuff in it. There's great stuff in the Bible, and there's great stuff in many other places. And there's some things that are in the Bible that we have taken just as gospel, and we don't think about anymore. I'm not one of those people. So give you one right now before I go, because I think I'm going to sign off in a little bit, just because this is just my first run with this. In the Bible, there's a passage that says something to the effect that the love of money is the root of all evil. And, people have had many, many conversations around that. Yeah, yeah, right and wrong. And, they stand on what, because it was in the Bible and it's sacrosanct. There's no other way of looking at things. Well, I'm not one of those people. I take exception to the Bible or that statement in terms of the love of money being the root of all evil. I choose and see from where I am today not to presume or associate the word love with anything that could be construed as evil. Love is not, or the love of money for that matter, is not the root of all evil. I would say of any evil. But I will say that relative to this idea called evil, because we can talk about that too, it would be the need for money. The need for money would be, in my way of seeing things, as it relates to what we see of as really nefarious and sometimes and many times regrettable activity. It would certainly be the root of all evil. There are people who are not bad. They're not, dastardly or anything else, who have done some really regrettable things in because of their need for an ongoing flow of money. And you know something, unless you are taking some steps to create something else, and for that matter, unless something as an alternate exists that did not require you to cast aside your conscience, your own sense of intelligence, all of that stuff is associated with our self-esteem. People are walking around with devastated self-esteem because they didn't have their behaviors, their knowledge, all their credentials, or whatever else, uh, did not and have not provided them a way to have some shelter and some cover from the crap that has been laid before them, and basically said, you either do this or you do that. Well, cooperation in this cooperative system, the need for money is the problem way more than the love for money. And the need for money is virtually ubiquitous in our society. There are people who are arguing over this and over that. They're divided over this and over that. And yet, all of them, virtually speaking, either are having or either need money or they're trying to maintain a flow of it, even at the expense of their, I'm going to say, souls. Okay. And so, how do you stay yourself? How do you be yourself? How do you even discover who and exercise who you truly are unless you're authentic yourself and you don't have that need? Well, this platform, this co op business platform, as I have thought it through, and I've been a part of it for almost a year, and I know how it works, I know why it works, and I know what can happen. But it took me some months to actually see that, something, if this occurs, succeeding using this tool because it's accessible to anyone, it's affordable to anyone to get in and do the work. And the success is not based on how much money you have, it's based on how much heart you're willing to exercise on your own behalf. It's talking about cooperation. So, yes, you're helping others, but ultimately, you're helping yourself. So I'm going to leave it at that for right now. I will be back on. I think I'm going to be on Wednesday. Hopefully, I have this presentation done. And I want you to know too that I'm not just about the this co-op system. If we're going to change things, we're going to have to think differently. We're going to have to feel differently, and we're going to have to interact differently. I will never need to be apologizing for my tone and for how I go about talking to people. Ultimately, the point is you put out to others what you want to come back to you. That's a universal situation. People talk about the law of attraction and stuff like that as though it's not working. It's almost funny to hear people saying this. But frankly, that's just people not accepting what they've been putting out, because that's what's been coming back. So if we want to change what's coming back, we have to make a conscious decision to change what we're putting out. And perhaps before we do that, we need to be open to something new, that it isn't simply about someone else's affair or someone else's this, that, and the other, and start paying a little attention to the universe that's inside here and here. So with that, I'm going to check out. Um, I'll hopefully continue working on the production values here on the Consciousness Prime, the Consciousness Prime show or podcast with me. And oh gosh, I said all of this and talked all this time and never mentioned consciousness. And I'll talk about that the next time. But I will thank you for tuning in and checking this out. Uh, we can change, first of all, our own world. And I mean that world within we'll call our own experience. There are 8 billion copies of experiences here right now, and each one is unique. And each one who created that experience can change it in any direction they want. That means for the better or for the worse. But you know something? I know a lot of people probably want to have some ideas on how to do better and make things better. And quite frankly, that's what I'd like to talk about. So I'll discuss consciousness the next time. And in the meantime, thank you for watching. I will wish you, oh gosh, excuse me for missing the chasing the bag. Ah, Harper High School. I'm trying to remember where Harper is. I went to Lindblom, but Harper was one of the schools that I could. I think it was an option at the time. Harper High School, was this on St. Lawrence? I think I walked by Harper High School going to Cornell. I gotta look it up. Derek, thank you for joining us. You're still there. No, okay, 65th and Woods. That's why Lindblom was near. You know where Lindblom was then on 61st um, and Walcott. Gosh, the word it came through. Anyway, so yeah, Harper was close. We played basketball with Harper, etc. Um, anyway, thank you for saying hello, man. I'm just kind of getting started with the stuff, and but yeah, I got a few things I want to pontificate over. Okay, but it's a pleasure. You're from okay, so from Memphis. What Memphis now? Because you went to Harper and Chicago State, so you certainly lived in Chicago at this point. So you're from Chicago, but now in Memphis. Is that it? Anyway, let me know. This is cool. Thank you so much. I I'm in Washington State, so I'm way on the other side here right now. But it's really really good to see you and to hear from you. Okay, all right. I've been there a couple times, and I'm working with some people who are there too. And I've got also a good buddy in Nashville, so I've been down there on some of my road trips. So it is a pleasure to meet you, and I will be back on, and we will be well. It's going to be a journey, and I hope you enjoy it. And it's a pleasure to make that connection. Okay, I'm still learning, but that'll be always happening. Okay, all right now. So I'm going to bid you all adieu. I'm going to wish you health, well-being, consciousness, abundance, and just say I love you all. You take care now. Till next time. Peace.